Hello and welcome to my channel. I do movie and television reviews and release new videos every Monday to Friday. Today we're going over the third episode of Rings of Power, Adar. This episode was directed by Wayne Yip. This episode felt a little weak. The pacing was slow, the writing was boring and uneventful, and the character development wasn't all that profound or interesting. You could likely skip this episode and come back next week and be just fine understanding everything. The production value of this episode was still high with beautiful sets and gorgeous scenery, and the overall vibe of the show really meshes in with the fantasy setting. Galadriel and Halbrand are rescued and taken to Numenor by Captain Elendil. When they arrive, they find the Numenorians aren't welcoming to outsiders, especially elves. Galadriel and Halbrand meet with the Queen, but the Queen won't help them back to Middle-earth. The two split up in order to explore the island. Galadriel meets Elendil and his family, while Halbrand tries to mix in with the locals. Arondir is captured by orcs and enslaved to dig their tunnel. He finds the other elves from the watchtower there too, captured and enslaved just like him. Together they plan to escape the orc encampment. Nori and Poppy try to steal some star pages from Sadok Burrows in order to help the strange man. They also have to try and keep him a secret from the others. Meanwhile, Nori's father is still injured, and he and Marigold Brandyfoot fear they won't be able to keep up with the other Harfoots. The plot was really boring in this episode. Nothing happens in Numenor except a bunch of inconsequential dramatic nonsense and exposition dumping. Nothing happens with the hobbits, and Arondir's storyline gets rushed through without any explanations. The pacing is slow as molasses dripping out of the jar until the final 10 minutes when the whole jar explodes. The fight scene at the end was really interesting and showed how fearsome orcs are and how far downhill things in the Southland have gone. But we never find out how the elves were captured, what their names were, or even how they plan to escape. Arondir is the only one who actually does anything. I liked how much culture we got out of the hobbits, but why can't they do that and have something going on at the same time? They also forgot Elrond. He wasn't even in this episode. How could they do my boy Rondi like that? The acting felt a little weak in this episode. There were few chances to show off or make a cool speech, and the one person who did get a chance kind of blew it. Looking at you, Arondir. Your boy has his neck chopped and you don't even shed a tear or say a word. There were a couple of scenes that stood out as exceptions that are worth mentioning. Dylan Smith and Sarah Zwangobani were great in the hut when they were discussing their future. Really spot on emotional work. Megan Richards also has a heartbreaking scene during the festival in which she showed off a sorrowful expression. And she and Markella Cavanaugh had some great conversations in this episode. The back and forth between them was witty, fast-paced, and a joy to listen to. Visually, this episode is gorgeous. They continue on with the beautiful city of Numenor and don't shy away from showing us the scenic sights of the island nation. The sets within the city and without were fantastic and vibrant. The tunnel in the Southlands was also really cool. Seeing the orcs converting it into a Mordor-like landscape was captivating, and I can't wait to see what else they do with this area. The fight scene toward the end, while interesting, has a number of holes in it visually. There are more people fighting back originally than are killed, and the warg looks worse than the Sonic CGI from a few years back, like a cheap knockoff. They also overuse slow-mo to get across how good Arondir is at fighting. Like literally every step he takes is in slow-mo. The soundtrack is as good as it gets. They managed to capture the majesty and beauty of Middle-earth in the song. And it's amazing how far these songs go in making the show more memorable. The fight scene and wide sweeping landscape shots get some especially juicy tracks. This episode was pretty boring, and most of the setup that happens feels a little cheap. I like the Hobbit storyline because I really enjoyed learning about Harfoot culture, and getting to see their daily struggle was interesting. The other two storylines were kind of boring and badly written, and I hope they get better in the future. The music and visuals are fantastic, but I hope the fights get better. 5 out of 10.